engineering project in the world that didn't just expand a coastline. It redefined what humans thought was possible. Not a bridge, not a dam, not even a canal connecting oceans. An artificial archipelago shaped like a palm tree, visible from space, carved into the Arabian Gulf using 94 million cubic meters of sand and 7 million tons of rock. The Palm Jumeirah wasn't just designed to create real estate, it was designed to announce to the entire world: impossibility is temporary, geography is negotiable. A place so audacious that engineers initially dismissed the concept as fantasy until Dubai proved them wrong. That dismissal turned into global fascination, not because the project was practical, but because it perfectly captured the ambition Dubai was building into its DNA. Before we go deeper into this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear goes far beyond engineering marvels and into the complex reality behind one of the world's most ambitious land reclamation projects. The Palm Jumeirah was officially completed in major phases between 2006 and 2009, extending 5 kilometers into the Persian Gulf with 17 fronds branching from a central trunk, all surrounded by an 11-kilometer crescent breakwater. Its design doesn't just add luxury beachfront property, it fundamentally alters Dubai's relationship with its natural limitations. But the real genius wasn't just in moving billions of tons of material, it was in the vision statement given to the developers: create something that changes the map itself. And they succeeded beyond most predictions. For nearly 2 decades, satellite images of this palm-shaped island became synonymous with human ambition, with Dubai's relentless push beyond natural boundaries. That's not construction anymore. That's geopolitical branding at a planetary scale. And that's exactly why what happened in 2024 and 2025 mattered so much more than it seemed on the surface. Because when reports began emerging about subsidence issues, erosion on the outer breakwater, and concerns about long-term structural integrity, the world didn't just see engineering challenges. It saw the fundamental premise being questioned. It saw the project that declared we can build anything suddenly confronting the limits of should we have built this way? And in a city built on perpetual forward motion, that confrontation is everything. Now, let's separate fact from noise, because this story has been surrounded by exaggeration and selective reporting almost immediately. The structural issues on the Palm Jumeirah are real, but localized. Some sections of the breakwater have experienced erosion requiring reinforcement. Certain properties have reported minor settling, standard in reclaimed land development. Maintenance costs are higher than initially projected, and environmental concerns about disrupted marine ecosystems continue to surface. From a purely engineering perspective, these are manageable challenges that major infrastructure projects worldwide face regularly. Repairs are ongoing. Properties continue selling. On paper, it's a development experiencing normal long-term adjustments. But here's the part that those facts completely fail to capture. A project like the Palm Jumeirah doesn't operate purely in the physical world. Its true value isn't in its sand and rock foundation, though those required extraordinary precision. Its value lives in perception, in confidence, in the story it tells investors before they even commit capital. And for nearly 20 years, that story was incredibly clear. This is permanent. This is the future. This is land where nature's limitations simply don't apply. That story justified everything. The multi-million-dollar villas, the ultra-premium positioning, the global marketing as humanity's triumph over geography. And over the past 2 years, that story has been quietly questioned. Not destroyed, but tested. Because once people see even minor cracks in a project that promised to last centuries, the calculation doesn't just weaken, it transforms. Now look at what happened next, not to the island, but to the market, or more accurately, the confidence within it. Property transactions on the Palm, while still occurring, have shown increased scrutiny from buyers. Insurance premiums for certain sections have reportedly risen. Developers marketing new phases have had to address structural questions that weren't part of conversations 5 years ago. Luxury developments that normally sell on prestige alone now face detailed technical inquiries about foundation engineering, long-term maintenance provisions, and environmental impact assessments. And timing matters here. This isn't happening in isolation. This is occurring while Dubai is simultaneously launching new mega projects, competing for the same high net worth investors, the same global attention. When confidence questions emerge about a flagship project, they don't stay contained. They become reference points. If the Palm has issues, what about? That's how market psychology works in real estate at this level. Think about what that looks like inside the ecosystem of the Palm Jumeirah. Luxury villas designed for the world's wealthiest families now requiring additional geological surveys before sale. Engineering firms brought in for assessments that were supposed to be unnecessary. Maintenance budgets exceeding original projections. The island itself, physically present, but the narrative around it fundamentally shifted. And this is where the story goes deeper than subsidence and erosion, much deeper than engineering reports, contractor disputes, or maintenance schedules. Because what we're witnessing here isn't just temporary construction challenges. It's the exposure of something fundamental that has always existed beneath the surface of Dubai's development model. For years, Dubai didn't just sell real estate in the traditional sense, location, architecture, amenities, and views. It sold something far more powerful and far more intangible. It sold permanence. The promise that these artificial islands, these reclaimed lands, these structures rising from sand and sea, represented not just temporary luxury, but generational wealth, legacy assets immune to the uncertainties that affect normal real estate. That was the real product, not just oceanfront property, but the feeling of owning something timeless. That psychological guarantee is what allowed Dubai to command premium prices, attract sovereign wealth, and position itself as a safe haven for capital-seeking stability in an unstable region. But the moment that perception is challenged, even subtly, it creates a ripple effect that goes far beyond one development or one fiscal quarter. Because now, the question enters investors' minds. Is this as permanent as I thought? And once that question is asked, the entire valuation model changes. High net worth individuals, family offices, institutional investors, these are entities that think in generational terms. They have options. They can invest in established markets with centuries of property law, in emerging economies with higher growth potential, in alternative assets entirely. And in a world where capital is infinitely mobile, even a small increase in perceived risk can redirect billions in investment flows almost instantly. This is not about panic. It's about recalibration. The kind that happens quietly in wealth management meetings, in estate planning discussions, in portfolio rebalancing decisions. And those decisions compound. One delayed purchase becomes hundreds. One divested asset becomes a trend. That's how perception translates into market movement. Now, layer that onto the symbolism of the Palm Jumeirah itself, and the effect becomes even more amplified. Because this isn't just another luxury development competing in a global market. This is arguably the most iconic land reclamation project of the modern era, a structure that has functioned for nearly 2 decades as physical proof of Dubai's ability to achieve the impossible. So when questions emerge there, they don't stay contained within property reports. They don't remain technical discussions. They instantly become symbolic. Images of erosion appear on engineering forums. Reports circulate through investment networks. Conversations start. Narratives begin forming. And once those narratives exist, they take on momentum of their own. And here's the critical part. Those narratives don't disappear. They don't reset after quarterly earnings. They become part of the long-term perception of Dubai's development model. They appear in due diligence reports. They resurface in risk assessments years later. They influence capital allocation decisions in ways that are subtle but measurable. This is how modern investment psychology works. Quick to question, slow to forget. Now, does this mean the Palm Jumeirah is doomed? No, and it's important to be realistic about that. The island itself remains an engineering achievement of historic significance. The developers behind it have resources and expertise. Dubai as a city has demonstrated repeatedly that it can adapt to challenges. Financial crises, market corrections, global disruptions. Demand for ultra-luxury real estate doesn't permanently evaporate. It adjusts, recalibrates, and eventually stabilizes. But recovery isn't just about reinforcing breakwaters. It's about rebuilding narrative. And that takes longer because what needs to be restored here isn't physical infrastructure. It's investor confidence. It's about reestablishing the story that was being sold for 2 decades. And that leads to the real question going forward, not whether the Palm Jumeirah will continue to exist. It will. But whether the story it represents can fully return to what it once was. Because once a symbol shifts meaning, even incrementally, it rarely reverts exactly. It evolves into something different. So now I want to hear from you. If you were considering investing in Dubai's mega projects or even dreaming about owning property on an artificial island, has this changed how you see it? Or do you think these are just normal growing pains that every ambitious project faces? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep, nuanced analysis like this, you already know what to do. Subscribe because we're just getting started.